When last we saw the Spurs, it was a victorious effort. They closed down the road, the home run, uh, in really surprising style, quite frankly, after losing to the Phoenix Suns just 48 hours prior. They go in without Victor, and they win despite best efforts with a Sohan shot about 30 seconds to go to win. They hit the road against Utah. And really the lingering question, we're not chasing playoffs. We're not chasing Rookie of the Year. That's all done and done. Defensive Player of the Year, it's possible, unlikely, but the bare minimum will have been met, right? He's won one of the awards to achieve the super max when it does come around in his 3 years. So his goals have been achieved. I think the Spurs goals were to raise the number of ping pong balls available to them in the draft, extricate some veteran money. They've done that, and when we can help Victor finish out his season, they'll help to achieve another goal and more ping pong balls, better draft pick. What are we fighting for now?
Not the worst record in franchise history.
Well, there is that. There is that.
That pride, I guess those are the same things. That's it. I mean, there's we're all just kind of stuck on this ride for a little bit longer. That's really all it is, if we're all being honest about it.
Well, I can put my coach hat on and go, I can tell you what we're working for, and it's not wins, but it is, we still have a problem. We still have a rookie guy who really has an ill-defined position. I know that Pop has a plan, but we know Wemby has a plan too. And I'm not sure how close they're jibing. I think that it's going more and more Wemby's way. But the excuse to keep Wemby in the game was one of the reasons I think he sat and watched on Monday night, was you're going to have to start to value the ball. More than anything, I know a lot of this stuff is you're a rookie and they're beating the crap out of you. I know that it's been a tough year for him. But when you sit down and there's only 7 turnovers and we win, there's something for the superstar to take away from that. I'm not saying that Pop deliberately sat him down knowing this would happen, but it was certainly opportune to have it happen. So if there's a reason to play, we need to start focusing on what it is to be a professional superstar, not just a professional basketball player. But you have to round your game out, and you're not helping your teammates at all when you're responsible for 5-6 turnovers a game.
Well, he has 5 at least in each of his last 3 games. He obviously has a game with 7 in there as well. Spurs had 7 total as a team on Monday night in the win against the Suns. And is there enough time left to where you could feel like the turnover issue would be fixed from him? You know what I'm saying?
No, you're not going to fix your ratio. You're right. That's done. It's going to hang.
That's what I'm
with
saying.
him.
Like, so, like, as we kind of combine these things, like, what is there left to play for? Like, I don't know that anybody feels bad about Wemby. To be very clear here, nobody feels like the season was a failure or anything like that. It was an overwhelming success.
For personal things.
Right.
Team wise, I think we could call it an abject failure.
Oh, totally. I mean, but we're talking about Wemby. And he's the most important thing. And I understand being concerned, and we've kind of floated as the season's gone along. We're concerned with his 3-point shot. We're concerned with the turnovers, but there's not enough time. I think we feel like the 3-point thing will figure itself out, right? Like the waters will stabilize.
His form is too good. It'll settle. Yeah.
The turnovers, though, remain an issue, and you just cannot prove to us that they're not an issue in these 10 meaningless games. You just can't. It's not enough time.
It's hard to believe there's just 10 games left.
Is it?
Well, it's been such a fragmented season. I mean, there was the Sohan experiment, which marked the first half, where we were just like, what the hell is going on? Why are we forcing him and us to deal with all of it? And then there was the realization that it was a poorly executed experiment, but skills were gained, and we can look back on it fondly. We can laugh at the fact that he had difficulty learning to drive. And, it's one of those things. But while we were going through it, there were a lot of tears shed. And I imagine there was some anger in practice. Like, this is bad for all of us. But, so that seems like so long ago. And then there was the Trey Jones finding his way. And then there was this brief period that we came through on the rodeo trip and into the homestand, where we started seeing, growth from Malachi. We started seeing growth from Blake and some things that we, we're waiting to see. And we finally started to see a little bit of it. All that combined, this feels like a season twice as long as even last year, because we knew what we were doing last year. There was one goal. And the closer we got to that goal, the more we realized it's more and more possible with our ongoing and imminent failures. So we were excited about the next loss. Didn't like it, but we were excited about it. This one, it's just been hard. Because we thought right now I would be tuning in not to games like the Pelican Thunder game last night, where it really matters as far as seeding goes. And it wasn't a playoff game, but it was a playoff game last night. And looking forward to the value of those kind of things, as opposed to, here we go to Utah. And, we're going to play and I'm going to watch. The big discussion point will be, point per minute and how many is Wemby if he's playing. And if he isn't playing, why are we better without him? Those kind of things where the outcome just doesn't matter. And I can live through that early in the year. But now when other teams, the outcome matters, when they're really chasing something and I have to watch it and be a part of it, I hate it. And it's time for this to be done.
It's annoying, and it's annoying for the who knows what time in a row. I mean, what was the last Spurs game this season, if you can even answer the question, because it's a difficult one, that you felt alive?
Yeah, woke up game day, baby. It's been years.
But there are moments, certainly, like Monday night, right? Like if you weren't watching, somebody texts you and says, like, dude, this is kind of going one way. You might want to flip it over. You know what I'm saying? And you enjoy the end. But it didn't. We all knew going into Monday night, like, this is, this is we're just going through the motions here, and it was fun. I mean, I don't want to ruin it, but it's been a very, very, very long time since a game felt consequential for the Spurs.
And that, I think, at the end of a long, tortuous season, you start to lose the relevance of that. You're just battered. I'm just numb. I hope for the best, but I don't expect much. And, so you start now, going into the week, you start looking, or going into a Utah game and another one of those weird back-to-backs. How much are we chasing things? Can they understand? And that's really the theme for tonight. Can Victor step onto the court and take what he witnessed and watched and go, you know what? I noticed something. Maybe it's just one thing he noticed. And let's put this into play. And maybe that's one of the reasons for one of the turnovers that he's, responsible for every night is, Jeremy zigs every time I think he's zagging. Well, I saw him do that, and now I know not to place the ball over there. He can't catch it. Those little things that go from being good to great, that maybe the witness part of it and maybe, the rest will help it apply. Tonight is, Walker Kessler has played pretty well over the last couple of years, and he's one of those few guys of stature that can kind of stand next to him and defend him. So if it does come to play, I'm interested to see how it goes, though. My expectation is not of a victory.
No, I think they'll play really hard for 3 quarters, and then they'll start to kind of get away from them, and then we'll all wave the white flag, and we'll all feel like, oh, yeah, Monday was fun, but this is who you really are. And that's the thing, like, maybe after the T-Wolves game, we allowed ourselves to dream just a little bit, but for a while now, it's been a matter of, dude, this just isn't happening for you all this season. And that is an indictment, is a heavy way to put it, but it is a failure of a season. You did not need to be this bad. It did not have to be this way. You did not waste a year of Wemby, but you did not get the most possible juice out of it that you could. You're throwing your food away. You know what I'm saying? It's a plate that isn't empty. I'm sure when your kids were little, you better clean that plate. We're not throwing that food away. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels like they're throwing away 60% of the food that's left on the plate.
Is it their fault or our fault for this? Because I can't help but it's very different situations, but the ownership put themselves in the same situation by essentially the same statement. Pop told us a year ago, look, man, this ain't a playoff team. If you're, he told us in training camp before they dribbled the first practice, look, I can tell you right now, this is going to be a long year. He basically told us as we gathered together for our first huddle. But this year, as we came into it, he told us that this was and should be a playoff, or at least a play-in caliber team. that there was an intent to go and win. That was not what they did. He told us one thing and did another. Now, all in has its own definition according to, I don't know, zip code and bank account. But I was led to believe that they were kind of all in this year with the Spurs, that we had gotten the number one pick and we had drafted appropriately the previous years and we had the pieces in place. Now, I was delusional in thinking that was there, but I was told that by minds better than mine. So if he'd have come in this year and said, you know what, this is just year 2. There's a long way to go. He's going to be great, but his greatness is going to subtract from other dudes. That he's going to add some, but his addition will lead to some subtraction from other guys, and the net will be a negative initially. Be ready for it. He didn't tell us that. So I think, as we round out the year, this long, brutal season could have been kind of avoided, and we'd have seen the future in draft picks and all of that. But they have not intimated or acted like that's the immediate goal at all, that it's just long-term. We're trying to get better, and maybe we'll win tomorrow.
They were only above 500 for one game this season, and it was after that second Suns win at the very, very, very beginning. They were 3-2.
I think
and then ever since then, what's that?
Well, I think we could say the same thing about last year too, that we were over 500 that first week when we fell into a couple of wins.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, they just got into such a big hole so early on that it made the idea of being competitive so impossible. They lost every game of the in-season tournament. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't think we're wrong as Spurs fans for having expectations of this team, because to your point, we were kind of told to. And it'd be one thing if say you missed out on the play-in. Okay, fine. You didn't literally deliver, but if you came close, if you were in contention, if you were playing some games in March on a Tuesday night that mattered, okay, great. It just you fell a little bit short. There's that's a valiant effort, but you weren't even close.
We're getting to a place that I told myself that I didn't want to go as the season went. I didn't want to get into everything sucks. But I feel like I'm about to get there, that everything sucks.
Okay. I don't think everything sucks.
Well, no, it's not just the play on the field. So as I do my almost to the end of the year, where are we and what do I need to do to reach my goals that I set for myself, my team? One of those, standard kind of meeting sessions. We're almost done with this. We're in our fourth quarter, or ending the third, starting the fourth quarter. Where are we? And what do we need to do to get to where we thought we would be 9 months ago? That kind of thing. And if I look at that, like, where are we? Well, we're not where I thought we'd be. And what do we need to do to get where I wanted to be? Well, I got to kind of reevaluate where I wanted to be, because it's not going to be in play-in tournament. So as we look at the last 10 games, where do we want to be? What do you want to do?
What can you do? I think that's the
Maybe
first
that's
question
the better question.